On Thanksgiving, a sign outside the Colorado Springs headquarters of Focus on the Family was vandalized to draw attention to the role Focus on the Family played in the shooting at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs across town, where 5 people died and 17 were wounded. The graffiti over the headquarters of Focus on the Family read, quote, "Their blood is on your hands. 5 lives taken." The Southern Poverty Law Center has called Focus on the Family's founder James Dobson anti-LGBTQ. They report that Dobson repeats the lie that homosexuality can be prevented and treated through ex-gay therapy. In 2015, Dobson claimed that one of the chief priorities of the gay movement is to legalize pedophilia. Dobson's writings are what is now being called stochastic terrorism. It's a new term, stochastic terrorism, at least for me. I first read about it in Scientific American in a piece written by Bryn Nelson, author of Flush, where he describes the way in which lone wolves can be activated by pundits or politicians or preachers who dehumanize other individuals or groups. In his Scientific American piece entitled How Stochastic Terrorism Uses Disgust to Incite Violence, was published earlier this month, Bryn Nelson writes, quote, "Ideologically driven hate speech increases the likelihood that people will violently and unpredictably attack the targets of vicious claims," unquote. Now, stochastic means random. That's what stochastic means. So stochastic terrorism, how does it work? Well, when somebody like Tucker Carlson vilifies drag queens, or Donald Trump amplifies QAnon supporters who promote the idea that Democrats are pedophiles, those words are put out into the ether and randomly fall into the mind of a lone, sick individual who, because guns are so readily available, acts on what are essentially incitements to violence. That's stochastic terrorism. And the master of stochastic terrorism is Donald Trump. If you watch Donald Trump's January 6th speech on the ellipse, he is deploying stochastic terrorism. He's brilliant at parsing his sentences. Donald Trump can incite violence by never specifically saying, "Go hang Mike Pence." He never says, "Storm the Capitol and kill Nancy Pelosi." What he does do is rile up a group of people who he knew were heavily armed. He knew they were heavily armed. The Secret Service told him these people are carrying weapons. And he said, well, I don't have to worry about them. They're not going to aim them at me. That's what he said on January 6th. He went before his supporters and enraged them. He incited them. He demonized individuals like Pelosi and Pence. He demonized a group, the Democrats. He says, Donald Trump says, just enough to these heavily armed lone wolves who are finding community, finding something bigger than themselves on January 6th by storming the Capitol and committing acts of domestic terrorism. He says just enough for them to engage in violence. That is stochastic terrorism. When Tucker Carlson demonizes the LGBTQ community, when he spreads the libel that drag queens are trying to sexualize children, that is an act of stochastic terrorism, because Tucker Carlson isn't specifically ordering anyone to shoot up a Colorado Springs gay club on drag queen night. So that gives Tucker Carlson plausible deniability. He's not telling anyone to do anything. He's just saying things. Now, does he know his words are reckless? He doesn't care. And yes, it is all protected by freedom of speech. to a limit, but it is protected mostly by freedom of speech. But freedom of speech also includes the right of Bryn Nelson to write in Scientific American that these right-wing television and radio personalities and Donald Trump and these preachers like Dobson, they create violent disgust in the minds of dangerous people. And disgust is a powerful emotion. It causes acts of violence. Disgust, when you are disgusted with someone or something, that provokes violence. We are all disgusted by pedophiles. So for Tucker Carlson to accuse drag queens of, quote, sexualizing our children, or for James Dobson from Focus on the Family to accuse homosexuals of wanting to legalize pedophilia, they are creating disgust, a type of disgust that can provoke someone to take revenge by shooting up a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs, or break into Nancy Pelosi's home and try to break her kneecaps. Yes, Tucker Carlson is free to say anything he wants, but that also means I'm free to say that Tucker Carlson or Focus on the Family all have the blood of the LGBTQ community on their hands. The Focus on the Family doesn't like graffiti. What about freedom of speech, freedom of expression? Oh, you don't like freedom of expression when somebody spray paints on your headquarters, their blood is on your hands. Oh, I guess freedom of speech has its limits. When Tucker Carlson or James Dobson or Ron DeSantis, when they draw a line between pedophilia and drag queen, by throwing that out there in front of millions of people, you are committing vile acts of stochastic terrorism. You have no idea which lunatic with a gun is going to commit a random act of terrorism against the people you demonize, but make sure you understand somebody, one of your followers, is going to kill somebody, and that blood is on your hands. That blood is on your hands, Tucker Carlson. That blood is on your hands, Ron DeSantis. That blood is on your hands, James Dobson from Focus on the Family.